Hi friends, today I want to talk about modernizing your 2/5s using sus chords. So we're assuming you know about 2/5s and we're assuming you know about sus chords, but just for a brief recap on sus chords, sus of course stands for suspended. It's the suspended chord quality by removing the dominant note, the note that defines whether a chord is major or minor, removing that note and replacing it with something else. So the note that defines a chord quality in the most basic sense is the third. So if we have a simple G triad in root position, G, B, and D, the B is the third. If we replace it with the fourth, C, this is a G sus4 chord, or if we replace the B with the second, in A, we get a G sus2 chord. So we've all heard this kind of a sound, right? Sus2, sus4, and then a major chord. So of course, there's tons of stuff on YouTube about sus chords, and you can look that up. But really, the reason I wanted to just reiterate that was because it's really that vagueness, that ambiguity of a suspended chord. It's not major or minor. It's got this really ambiguous sound that we can use to help modernize our comping, our chord voicings. So let's take a really simple example, like in the key of C, a 2-5-1 in the key of C. If we play like straight seventh chords and voice lead them properly, we get this kind of a sound, right? D minor 7 to G7 in second inversion to C major 7, or D minor 7 first inversion, G7 third inversion, C first inversion, or D minor G7 C, or D minor G7 C, right? All those are useful, and they're fine, but they're kind of dated sounding. They're really almost too clean or something, too in. And what a lot of people tend to do is take the 5 chord and put a bunch of altered tensions on it to give it a little more color. But what I'm going to propose today is something a little bit different, by saying, well, let's take a tune, and I'm going to use, for an example today, the tune called Afternoon in Paris, because it has a series of 2-5-1s. We're just going to use the first 8 bars of the tune. The tune goes. Okay, that's I don't remember who wrote it, but whatever, famous jazz standard. So it starts in the key of C, and then it's a 2-5 into B flat, so down a whole step, and then another 2-5 into A flat, down another whole step, and then a 2-5 back to C. So 2-5, no, sorry, begins on C, 2-5 into B flat, 2-5 into A flat, 2-5 back to C. So I'll overlay the chart. It's from the real book. You can see it. But what I'm going to propose is, what if we do a couple things? One is to take this idea of suspended chords, and wherever we have a 2-5, we're going to do a very simple approach by substituting its suspended chord, its suspended 7th chord. So in this case, we have C major 7, then we get the 2-5 into B flat. So that's a C minor F7 to B flat. So instead of playing C minor 7, F7, I'm just going to play C7 sus, and then to B flat major. And then the 2-5 to A flat, which is B flat minor to E flat 7, I'm just going to play B flat 7 sus. So the 2 chord becomes suspended with no 5 chord. And that would sound like this. So C major into C7 sus to B flat major to B flat sus to A flat to D sus to the 1 chord C. So I'll play it without talking this time so you can hear it more clearly. we're using good voice leading, I'm moving to the next available position using the next available voicing using good voice leading. It sounds pretty fresh, right? What if I did the exact same thing, but instead of that time we use the 2 chord as suspended for both the 2 and the 5. This time I'm going to use just the 5 chord suspended for both the 2 and the 5. So C major, G7 sus, oh, sorry, G major, F7 sus, B flat, E flat 7 sus, A flat, G7 sus. That would sound like this. Yeah, C major, F7 sus, B flat, E flat sus, A flat, G sus, C. Sorry, I got a little bit of a cold, but so that's a very simple way just to suspend either the 2 chord or the 5 chord using good voice leading, and you could take that through all the different inversions of your sus chords, assuming you know those, like G sus. We have these kind of sounds, right? So you're going to want to learn your sus chords on at least on the bottom 4 strings, the middle 4 strings, the upper 4 strings. It's something, again, I'm sure it's available on YouTube. So that's one really simple way, again, to instead of playing a 2-5, to play the 2 chords suspended for the duration of both chords, or the 5 chords suspended for the durations of both chords. And as long as you're using proper voice leading, it's less activity, it's more vague, it's a little bit more modern sounding. Now that's a very simple thing to do. Now what if we want to go to a different extreme, to take this idea and move it around a little bit more? What else can we get from it? Well, I've created a video, if you're at all familiar with my channel, although it's fairly new, I like to reuse a lot of material, including doing things like taking chord scales and harmonizing them up and down the fingerboard. So I'll link that video in case you're interested. But what I wanted to do is take this idea of, say, a 2-5-1. Let's take the key of C. 2-5-1 in D minor 7, the 2 chord, G7, the 5 chord, and C major, the 1 chord. What if we took that 2 chord and suspended it, sus 4, so I got this D7 with a sus 4 on it, and I move it up a whole step. Now in theory you'd say, well, if this is a D7 sus 4, then this is an E7 sus 4, and that would be theoretically correct, but I'm not thinking of it in that terms. I'm thinking of it in function. So if this is a D chord, we've got the root, the 5th, the flat 7, and the 4th. That gives us our D7 sus 4. If I move it up, but I'm still thinking of it as a D chord, now I have the 9th, the 13th, the root, and the 5th. So this is like a Dorian sounding chord because it has the 9th and the 13th in there. So these to me are 2 voicings of a D Dorian chord scale. So I'm gonna use that as my 2 chord, both of those chords. When I get to the 5 chord, in this, because we're in the key of G, so the 5 chord is G7, I'm going to move this voicing up a half step. Now, you could call this an F7 sus chord, but I'm thinking of it as a G. The bass player is playing the G root. What are my notes? Well, I've got the flat 7, the F, the 4th, the C, the flat 13, the E flat, and the sharp 9, the B flat. So I'm thinking of this as a G with altered tensions on it. Now, if I move this voicing down a whole step, so we're using this constant structure idea. I'm not changing the voicing, I'm just changing this location. If I move it from this G altered sound, which is really an F7 sus, down a whole step to E flat 7 sus, but again, I'm thinking of it as G. So if G is my root, E flat's my flat 13, B flat's my flat 9, D flat So I've got all these altered tensions in this voicing. So I'm thinking of it as a G altered, but I'm getting F7 and E flat 7 sus. So here's my 2-5-1. And then I resolve it to the 1 chord, right? In this case, the closest best voice leading would be first inversion, C major 7 chord. So that's, instead of playing this, I get this. So a little more hip sounding. Now some people might go, well, you got a C natural on the G altered sound. It sounds a little funky. Not to me, but again, it's this constant structure thing. That's why it works. But you could replace that C with a B natural and get this more traditional G altered sound, but leave the rest of it the same. So we get here. Okay, so that's the general idea. Now, we could do this with any of the inversions of a D7 sus chord. So we just did it in root position. Actually, I'll go up. So here's the first inversion of a D. Well, this is a D7, D minor 7, a 2 chord, but we're going to suspend it by moving the 3rd up to the 4th, and we get this. So here's our D7 sus chord. Now if I take that same idea, move it up a whole step, and then a half step, and then down a whole step, and then resolve it to my nearest C major, I get that sound. Okay, if I go up to the next inversion of a D minor sus. Well, here's my next inversion of a D minor 7. Root, first inversion, second inversion, but I suspend it by moving the 3rd up to the 4th, I get this chord. Right, so here's my second inversion of a D7 sus. I move it up a whole step, up a half step for my G altered, down a whole step, and then resolve it to my nearest C major inversion. So again. If I don't like that C natural on the G chord, okay, so we did first inversion, second, third, third inversion. This one's a little hard to play for me, just the stretch. Again, here's a third inversion D minor 7 chord with the 7th on the bottom. We take the 3rd, the F, and move it up to the 4th to suspend it. We get this, right? 7th, 4th, 5th, root. So I take the same thing, whole step, half step, down a whole step, whoops, resolving it to a C, major 7 or C6, 9. So again, that sounds like this. Like that C natural on the G altered sound, we can move it to that B natural there. So, a good way to extend your harmonic vocabulary by introducing sus chords. Another thing that might be worth checking out that I didn't go into and I'm not going to bother is using sus2 instead of sus4, like your D minor. If you played a sus2 instead of like the minor 3rd becomes the 9th, we get that sound, or this sound, or this sound, or this sound. So those are all possibilities too. I'm not going to go through everything, but hopefully this just gives you some different colors to play with. That's not too hard to remember how to implement, and that inspires some creativity for you. Check it out and let me know what you think.